Hello everybody, welcome back to Game 2 here in the Southeast Asian TI6 Qualifiers lower bracket. It's Warriors Gaming Unity taking on Execration. Loser of this will be eliminated from the TI6 race. Winner will advance to the finals and will be going to Seattle, either as a wildcard team or in the main event. They'll be playing a best of 5. Oh gosh, where did that come from? Best of 5 against Fnatic to decide who's in the main event, who's in the wildcards, but right now it's do or die for Warriors Gaming. They're down 1-0, fighting for their lives here at the TI6 Southeast Asian Qualifiers. We're into the draft now, as we'll see the first few picks unravel. I'm Gods. Joining me in just a second will be LD, as we see some of our opening picks. It's a familiar sight from what we've seen in most of the qualifiers. This time around, Timbersaw on the Execration side. Warriors Gaming going to get that banned out Terrorblade from game number 1. And LD, welcome. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's been a long 4 days. It feels like more of a slugfest because there's been more games on at once, but it's still like the same 4 days.
Yeah, it's the same as the Manila qualifiers as far as like the total amount of time, more or less, as far as concurrent hours. But we had 9 games at once during the group stage, so there's a lot more Dota to keep track of. The teams overall playing a lot more games, but now we're down the home stretch, almost there for the SEA teams. One of these teams will not make it to Seattle. They will be the team that got the closest from the region, but still falls short. One of them is going to Seattle, at least as a wild card, no matter what, God. So this, to me, almost feels like a bigger game than the grand finals in some ways, as, yeah, sure, they may be underdogs come wild card, but at least you know you're going to TI.
Well, and that's the thing. These are two teams, it's like, who can only dream about playing in a TI, and that not in the sense that they're bad teams, but in the sense that they're underdog stories. Execration,
and they haven't been to those events before.
Execration qualified for 1 star ladder like way back when. But other than that, like a Warriors Gaming is a totally new upcoming team. Execration is, for the most part, it was a different team other than Chemo who played at that Star Ladder event. So these are upcoming teams who just need to get some line experience. And even if it's going to TI and just getting locked out in the wildcard matches, it's still a great experience. You still get to be around and see what it's like to be at a TI. So I think it's just a great story either way. Fnatic, you kind of expect them to be there, but one of these two teams is going to be just thrilled to be there, even if they're not in the main event. But IO Tiny, we saw this yesterday.
Yeah, first overall pick Vench here to start the draft out, then a tied Terrorblade combination from WG. So they look to secure the late game, the team fight potential, and the 5-man potential. Timbersaw was the response. They get some answers for the TB, but heading into phase 2, Execration going for the killing blow, and they will grab that Tiny. IO have some really good targets as well. Early to mid game, 3 of these 4 heroes are vulnerable to the avalanche toss.
Yeah, that's
Till the TB
worry.
gets at least his Dragonlance, he's killable. Certainly the line of Witch Doctor are easy prey.
I think once TB gets enough items up, you're okay. And the one thing that Execration don't currently have is reliable disable to prevent that Sunder. The Avalanche plus Venge Stun is not really long enough, so you've got to imagine that 5th pick may be something that provides that. But now, I mean, it's an offlaner, so typically offlaners you think your kind of Blink initiators, your Sladas, your Voids.
It's kind of tough though, right? Like, I feel they are going to really struggle to 5-man into this tide. So do they maybe go for more of a pick-off style draft? Like, Batrider is not going to be able to take team fights against a Tidehunter Lion. He will get almost certainly punished if he initiates. Who is available?
Yeah, and Warriors Gaming banned the Brood themselves. I think they've been split pushed one too many times today after Fnatic pulled out the Brood against them. And like you kind of mentioned, team fighting into a Tide, and I mean, Tide Terrorblade is a very scary combo together in a team fight, is a bad idea. So there we go. Pick off and split push. Beastmaster is not being picked up for a team fight element here. This is a hero that, I mean, it's kind of talk about it getting level 6 and then rotating around and getting raw kills, but I think if anything, Beastmaster excels more when you can just stay in the side lanes and push with Necrobook and find pickoffs. So you're better off kind of more being a bit greedier on this hero than going the selfless, oh, I'm going to gate for my Tiny or Timbersaw. I think this is more like a true 3-core lineup.
Yeah, and it's something that can split push, that can set up the relocate ganks especially. And that does scale pretty well in the late game. And Mana Burn is a way to deal with Tide, potentially, to some extent. So I like the pick a lot. And we'll see Warriors Gaming now look to reply. How do they respond? They already have their supports. They're looking for a mid here. The Dusa got banned. The Death Prophet taken out of the equation. They go Clinks. The mid Clinks. We saw it yesterday.
Yep.
And it worked out quite well, actually, versus White Fries.
Yeah, I was kind of skeptical. I was funny because Winter randomly brought it up as well, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't like the Clinks." I was like, "God, I'm glad someone else didn't like the hero," but
it
they
worked.
they played it really well. And the one thing the Clinks offers that like some of the other heroes we talked about don't is that it's very aggressive. You get level 6 and then you rotate into the enemy jungle. You start fighting pickoffs, and I like it more this game because you're against Io. It's a great hero to have against the little
Well, they actually did
glowing
it.
ball.
Didn't they do it versus Tiny IO yesterday? I'm pretty sure we saw Clinks versus Tiny IO.
No, it was there was an IO Tiny game and a Clinks game, but I think they were separate.
Oh, they were
games.
separate games. Maybe I'm just like mixing them together in my head.
Yeah.
It's like when you wake up and you had a bunch of dreams and you can't exactly remember the details of some of them, or they all kind of run together.
Could be right though. I mean, I might be the one mixing up the games and
All
thinking
right.
they're
Well,
separate.
let's see who was right and who was left since we have a moment here. Let's see. Warriors Gaming, they ran a Clinks, and it was versus. No, that was today. Versus. Oh wait, Execration a day ago. Yeah, they played it versus Timbersaw, Jug, Elder Titan, Lion, and Darkseer. So yes, there was absolutely not a Tiny IO in that game. There was a Tiny IO for Execration the game before. I am the crazy one.
All right.
If there was any doubt.
I
I mean, after your Mafia play earlier today, though, I imagine I imagine people would have taken my side.
Yeah, no one's gonna trust me ever again.
COP, guys, COP. Hey, it worked. That one worked. So here we go. Warriors Gaming trotting down to the bottom lane. They need a win to force that deciding game 3. Execration looking to KO them 2-0. Whose draft are you favoring here?
Warriors Gaming, I mean, easier to execute, which is always something I like to see. I think they've got a clear answer to snipe the Wisp and take it out of the picture. The Tide Terrorblade are a fearsome duo. They've got Roche advantage. They've got a decent Roche lineup with Terrorblade Clinks. So I'm slightly favoring Warriors Gaming, but I mean, both teams have clear plans which kind of can match up differently. The split push of Execration is going to be the key thing for them.
Very deep move here by Afu. Looks like they wanted to get some vision of the potential stacking and pulling of the IO of Tim's, but not going to be able to get that deep ward out just yet. So Zaki hanging onto it. See Nana creeping about as the Clinks.
In this game, no messing around from the offlaners. Straight into the Iron Talon, both Tide and Beastmaster, recognizing they're not going to be able to contest the offlane. Well, I say that. I feel like Tide could. It's a, Venge Timbersaw lane?
Maybe just a solo Timber to start. Where is Chemo going?
Yeah, I think Tide's realized, like, wait a second, I should actually go to my lane here because he's going to start in this bottom lane. And
so they wanted this Timber versus Tide 1v1. We saw yesterday, very favorable for Timbersaw, and looks like we're going to get it again, at least for now.
I think it was a mistake for the Tide to get an Iron Talon starting item. You should be getting more regen, perhaps. I mean, the Quelling Blade aspect's fine because it helps you last hit, but the upgraded Iron Talon is unnecessary when you're not jungling.
And Timbersaw is going to be able to bully him with this, that's for sure. Already going to work with the Whirling Death. We do see an Observer Ward planted down up near the Ancients, as well as that big camp. Perhaps looking to keep tabs on RR on the Beastmaster, but he ain't there. He's farming his own jungle. And nobody in that top lane as Venge will rotate. Chemo looking for the D ward. He was expecting the camp to be blocked. Was not. So he will be able to freely pull and stack.
Yeah, so it looks like Execration going to take a greedy approach to this game. They Iron Talon jungle the Beastmaster. Venge is in the safe lane, but not really going to try and zone the Tide. Is more just going to prioritize pulls, stacks, and farm. And does leave the dual lane mid, the Io Tiny, who are very self-sustainable as well.
Do you favor other teams' laning setup here as we see them settle into a rhythm?
I think Execration overall have the stronger lanes. They're going to get a bit more in the way of farm out of the lanes just by nature because they've got the Iron Talon Beastmaster. So for WG, it's all about recognizing that come teamfight time, we've got the stronger lineup.
Well, teamfight time won't come for a while here. So RR just AFK, hitting creeps. Chemo doing the pulling thing. Manages to get the second pull off, but only grabs a range creep this time. So he'll be a little flustered by that perhaps. And on the other side of the map, the good news for WG Unity is Ajit freely farming away as the TB. He's off to a good start here at 13-2. Yeah, uncontested Terrorblade.
With the Beastmaster last pick, that's the lockdown that can actually help kill off the Terrorblade as well. Being able to roar and provide a setup for the relocate in, the Timbersaw burst damage. So.
And you know, unlike some other Terrorblade games, we don't see the great like defensive support to save him. We've seen a lot of the Dazzle picks come into vogue, the Venge for the swap. They don't have that hero gods to directly save the Terrorblade. Perhaps a Ravage counter initiation, but if he gets caught and chain stunned, he will die.
And that could just happen so fast before you can actually react if you're a Tide. So we have to be very careful about how they approach team fights around the Terrorblade.
And I guess that's where it's good that he's having a good start here.
Yep, absolutely. He'll have uncontested free farm for a while, but similar story with the Timbersaw. We saw last game that kind of 13-minute Bloodstone, and if you snowball off of that, you're looking good. Problem was that Arjit did not really... he got an initial kill or two, but he quickly started losing Bloodstone charges after that.
That's for the mid-Clinks experiment. Nana, 13-3 here. Doing well against the Tiny. Though he's had help from Afu the whole time. So, at the very least, he's not getting too out of control. And I guess the one slight downside for this laning set with Execration, the final piece of the puzzle, is they're not stacking because Beastmaster is occupying the camps that they normally would. We don't see anything really from Chemo, just a single double stack here. But he might be looking to farm that himself.
And the last time they had the Io Tiny, they had that stack there where Io was
a quad stack by now.
Constantly going back to stack it up. So we'll limit what farm he can, his kind of farming prowess.
Puts more emphasis on the Beastmaster.
Yep, and very likely you see the Beastmaster jungle level 6 pick up a smoke, then go for that first gank. So he'll give back to the Tiny by despite taking some of his farm for the time being.
Well, this is different. Going right for the headdress.
Oh, it's just a jungling item. I think you'll see... This is a fear initially when he started the jungle Beastmaster would always... He actually rushed the Vlads as his first item, although we don't see the Vlads rush anymore. The casual headdress is kind of just like a efficient jungling item.
Okay. Maybe I just never noticed it before. I feel like it's the first time I've seen it.
It's not a 100% of games anymore, but I'd say like the Beastmaster last game I cast was doing this as well.
Okay.
Ahayo did it with the headdress into Tranquils.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's what I've seen more often is the Tranquils, if anything. Yeah. Or just ferrying a Salve here or there and getting the fast boots out. But he's got both now, boots as well as the... Uh-oh, Nando. Gotta be careful.
Nana's really giving him the hurt. 20 CS to the 18 of Tiny. This dual lane mid has been salvaged by WG by keeping the Witch Doctor in the neighborhood.
Oh, you know what we saw was the Tiny IO was the Invoker mid, who went Exhort, actually. Yep. And once he got the raindrops, they couldn't really kill him. Yeah. I wonder if that's the same story here for Nana.
Right, he's got those raindrops. You can start chipping away at the charges by just throwing tosses at him, but...
And I think you should, honestly, because he just... The Invoker would not die when he had these. They go for the Avalanche, the toss is still available, but they get turned on a bit here. Nando tanking a lot of damage. There's a first raindrop pop.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth throwing those avalanches. We saw this last time against the Invoker where he would Ava toss and not even come close to kills, but the avalanche is just wasted. Like, he takes damage when he goes in. He just needs to toss a range creep from way back and it'll chip away at those infused raindrop casts. And it's just more mana efficient.
I mean, I don't think it breaks them because it's so many instances of damage.
Avalanche does not, only the toss does.
Even at level 4, do you know if it breaks the raindrop? I'm not sure if it does.
I'm not sure on that.
But anyway, Afu's going to get caught out here. RR has a roar available. He doesn't manage to get off, though. The cast bouncing. It won't hit the hero a second time. Instead, they're going to chase on to Nana in the mid lane. They commit heavily for this one. He's gone invis, though. The dust gets popped, but it's going to cost them a Tiny. He feeds the first blood. Now RR hexed out under the tower. Zaki with the timely rotation, turning this one around. They might get a second kill as well. This would be absolutely massive. Another volley of attacks. He barely lives. Zaki wants to go for it, but he can't quite find the second kill. A disastrous start to the game for the Beastmaster. RR, he hesitated, gods. He wanted to hold on to that roar. And the greed cost him.
Yeah, some really bad execution there. You just, when you go for that smoke play, if you run into a support, yeah, the plan was to smoke and Clinks, but when the second you run into a support, you take that kill, because by the time you reach the Clinks, the TP rotation's already coming from Lion, and
your Tiny was low. If he's full HP, maybe they go for it anyway. Yeah.
So, just got too greedy there, hoping to get a Clinks kill, when realistically, the key thing is it's also a first blood, so it's an extra gold ingest, and just not the ideal outcome for that one. So RR going to be having a few regrets, but he's already back to the jungle, continuing to farm, working towards that Necro book.
Well, they really needed that kill too, as it was basically a dead even start here with Abed free farming. But Execration now find themselves on the wrong end of it.
A lot of Ancient stacked here for Tide, so Wen is going to just continue to farm well. The Tide easily keeping up with Beastmaster and likely to overtake him once those Ancients come into play.
I continue to be really impressed by Zaki. I feel every game that I've cast this guy, he's had a pretty big impact. Though I did not cast the Fnatic series, but
Oh, he was good in that series too.
Yeah.
I mean, WG as a team were really impressive in the early to mid game.
he really reminds me a lot of MMY, where he just seems to be in the right place at the right time, and he does a great job at keeping his levels up. It's extremely rare to see him under-leveled.
He's sitting on 1,000 gold right now, halfway to the Blink Dagger, about to hit level 6 at 8 minutes. Pre-level 10, level 6 is always, pre-minute 10.
But as always, you must respect the caster's curse. Chemo starts it off with a stun. They want to get in range here for the roar, but Zaki's in possession of the 2-hero lockdown. Abed whiffing on the chakram. Zaki may go down here. We'll have to see. He goes for the TP out. Meanwhile, Io going to die. They have to commit a roar just to kill him. They'll get the Lion, but it costs them elsewhere an Io as Klinks finds a solo kill.
And that was good play from Zaki. He
Terrorblade dies there otherwise.
Yeah, protects his Terrorblade and then goes for the TP escape, which perhaps would have been successful if not for the Hawk on top of him. The line of sight would not have allowed the roar if not for the Hawk, so it was a good attempted escape.
They're diving this, but Afu is able to get off a cask, which will bounce, not quite enough. Nando hanging onto the combo, doesn't opt to go for it just yet, then ends up tossing Afu back, but Nando's on his own. He needs the help of Tims. The Tether's going to come in momentarily perhaps, but I think he's dead anyway to the Maledict, and Tims in the end decides to sacrifice his Tiny. The game going from bad to worse. Execration in a big hole, almost 2,000 gold and experience after several blunders, several miscues on the ganks, and it is starting to add up, gods.
I think more so than last game, getting an early game advantage for WG is really big because they can snowball harder. They've got really clear Roche taking potential with the Terrorblade Klinks. They've got great pushing power, and Execration don't split. I mean, they can split push a bit with the Beastmaster as well as the Tiny, but that's more so when they get items. Pre-Necrobook and pre-Aghanim Scepter, the split push threat is not all that scary. And WG can go for like a 15-minute Roshan if they want to. Klinks can hit that 15-16 minute Desolator timing, and Roche just melts to Death Pact. I'm
really starting to become convinced that Tiny IO just doesn't work against raindrops. The more games we see where they're not able to snowball mid, we don't see the early kills ramping up, and then on top of that, if you're not stacking, you really don't have a great plan B.
I'm not sold on the IO Tiny, and even last time we saw it, it wasn't.
And that was versus an easier kill even, the Quas Exort Invoker. And he never died after he got the raindrops. Tims will snag a haster in here, and well he did, as otherwise Nana may have killed him off. Thinks about a chase forward, doesn't have the relocate just yet. Execration very hemmed in already, only 10 minutes in. It's the TB Tide push combo. Ajit the man up front. He leaves a couple illusions, backs away. It's WG Unity really in the driver's seat as far as the movements around the map go.
I'm surprised TB's not picking up his Dragonlance. He has the money. I'm not sure if he's considering other options, just getting a Yasha or something, but
Dragonlance is just so efficient.
Oh, there you go. He just got the Ogre Club. There's just lacks room. There we go. The courier was full, so he's like, team, I'm commandeering this courier.
Oh no. Nah. The courier, it hesitates just for a second. It will live though. It like stutter stepped. Hey Nana, come on, hit me. Not enough for the kill though. So now they're going to swing on towards mid. And the courier, it's still low HP. Sticking around a bit. They do get an avalanche off on Nana. Doesn't have the raindrops anymore, but he will eat a creep. His Execration just playing passively. We're not seeing them execute their game plan. The roars and the relocates, the swap initiations. It's just not coming together, gods.
Yeah, ever since that kind of first failed roar rotation, they've lost all steam and haven't seen them able to put much else together. Beastmaster's just trying to farm his Necrobook up, which is fair enough. Until he gets that, may not be able to fight all too well. Sunder at bottom.
Oh, Abed, he chained his way into the Sunder. A costly overextension, and they are ready to punish. 5 heroes descending on the tower. I saw your Dota crash, and apparently 6 of the players did as well.
Yeah, I thought that was my Dota 2 boycotting that play. Like, oh, that was too dirty. That Sunder. That Sunder range now is ridiculous.
So much better than it used to be.
Yeah.
Used to be really hard to get it off, and I think that was a big part of why we never saw Terrorblade getting picked. Why he fell out of favor.
There was the phase where like the rest of his spells were so good it didn't matter that Sunder sucked. Like you would just skip Sunder and the hero would be OP, but
yeah, first he was just shit in general. Then everything was good, but Sunder wasn't the best, and now it feels like he's just everything's good. What is his win rate now? I know it was up pushing 80% at one point.
it's down close to 70. Check
A
if-
paltry 70.
Yeah, 70%.
Terrible hero,
Yeah.
honestly.
Ugh.
Probably should get buffed. How would you buff Terrorblade Gods? I was thinking like 10 extra base strength. Might be nice.
Give him the mini stun and Sunder again, you know?
Maybe, 200 extra attack range, perhaps.
Yep. Oh yeah, built-in Dragon.
I mean, his attack range is just unacceptably low on
Yeah, and the fact you
Metamorphosis.
have to build Dragonlance to make the hero viable, like,
I mean,
what's that
come
about?
on. It's,
You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't be forced to buy this one item to make the hero work.
it really feels constricting, you know. You need to be able to breathe as a carry player, and frankly, I think it's a disgrace that Terrorblade doesn't have more attack range. Maybe what they should do is just make him permanently metamorphed. That seems like a potentially fair way to bring the hero back into relevance.
And like for the sake of keeping the melee form, your third spell you just replace it with melee form. So if you want to go melee, you can, but
and then
you never have to.
And then you need a bonus, obviously. So it should be more like Troll, where he gains bash as well as some move speed. I think that would be excellent.
Yeah, it seems alright.
Okay. We're all in agreement. I mean, he is a giant demon after all. Surely he should be stronger than he is.
No, it's not scary enough. Well, we're at it. Let's increase his model size a bit too. You know, just that works as a buff, right?
Yeah, surely. You know what I miss from Dota 1 actually is the like just how big the models would get.
Yeah.
Like if you had like the old Tiny with Grow, Bloodlusted, and BKB'd at the same time, like same for Terrorblade as well. It takes up like a quarter of the screen almost, it felt like. And because you had a much bigger UI, it would extend like all the way up to where my mouse is almost.
BKB on couriers was a similar
of
thing. You actually cast BKB from the couriers, and the couriers would take up like the entire screen.
The
because they're flying.
Cosmodon! I also missed some of the sound effects. We were talking to Bruno about it at Manila, and I tried to convince him to bring it back. I think there's some sort of copyright issue or something. You know,
Never heard of it.
Sounds like BS to me. I think Valve just doesn't want us to have fun. But no, those sound effects were wonderful. The graphics may not have aged as well, but the voice acting certainly has.
I tried going back for a bit of nostalgia's sake. It didn't age well.
So they Execration now, just playing a bit passively here. Is there a point where you see them getting more active? The Necro Book is coming. Relocate now online. Nando does have a blink.
Yeah, the Nando Blink Dagger should allow them some kill openings.
Oh, this would be big. Ajit caught out of position, but he gets the Sunder off. I think they still kill him anyway, though. Round number 2, he almost solo kills Chemo, even 1v4. But he does die. And that's exactly what the doctor ordered for an Execration team struggling to stay in control of this game.
Line it mid careful. He's very squishy, but he's also in fog in a good position.
You say that. But it's Nana in front for now. Moving on to Tim's. He wants a piece of this IO. We'll be able to finish him off. It looks like that last Assyrian arrow comes in from the rear. Will kill him. Izaki has a finger. I think he's going to let it go momentarily. And RR blasts him in the face. Secures the kill. And will live to tell the tale. Abed hesitating a bit to throw out the Chakram and chase. Ends up being a 2 for 2. A Beastmaster and an IO for a Terrorblade and a Witch Doctor around the map. Yeah, just now respawning from the death bottom earlier.
Yeah, the Lion Blink pickup was very influential there, and the fact that Execration didn't see him. If they see him, Tiny could have got the jump on him and quickly burst down poor little Lion, but he almost stole some of those items there at the shop.
That's just what Execration need right now, is to also have items stolen on top of it.
And you'd love to kill this Timbersaw before he, well, right as he gets his Bloodstone, take those charges away.
So Nana eats a creep, and WG continue to ramp up the aggression here. Seems like the IO is public enemy number 1. Unfortunately, Nana, he's walked into dust, into trouble. The swap out, not enough. He still ends up going down. This IO needs armor or a Ghost Scepter. My god, he is squishy. That's before the Deso. But hey, they get a Clinks out of it, so it is still a win for Execration.
Did he walk too close to the tower or what?
I'm not sure, but the Ravage connects on 3. The Death Ward coming through. The secondary Ravage. Zaki delivering mini MMY. Making plays for the team, and one more auto attack will get the chemo kill as well. Into the trees he goes, but the lob from that wand secures another. It ends up being a 3 for 2. But again, cores are what's dying for WG Unity. They lost the Terrorblade there. It feels like the team fights are good, but not being able to really finish the job.
Oh, Ajit, don't chase this one too aggressively, my friend. He gets out.
3, one more auto attack would do it, but Tim's using the Fog of War, abusing it. Unfortunately, Nando has other ideas. He sacrifices his IO, tossing the Clinks towards the tower. Says, here, Nana, would you like a hand? And Nana says sure.
It looks like a good idea.
How much
on
do I have to
paper,
pay you?
but then you remember that Clinks has 1500 HP with Death Pact, and your tower actually tickles him. Not just the 1500 HP, but the max movement speed in Skeleton Walk, or close to max movement speed, 500-ish.
So now they look for the counter initiation mid. Wen doesn't have his ultimate, but still, the Necro Book working on him. Mana burning Wen down. He actually drops quickly to the Timbersaw. Then the Tiny comes in together with the Venge. They bring down another. WG Unity starting to crumble in the mid game. Same story as game number 1, where they got out to a great start and then just began to hemorrhage free kills, seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah, Execration just find openings so well. Like, and all it takes for them is to get... They're great at turning 1 kill into 2 or 3, or into a kill plus a tower. Whereas you see WG Unity, and they get off to these small early game leads. They get a kill here or there, but they never like gain momentum. And not just a couple kills. They get a couple kills. They get a tower. They get a Roche. Execration really upping the ante here, and this is a Roche that's meant to go the way of WG Unity. The Clinks plus Terrorblade is meant to be able to take this.
Oh, they want to contest this, gods. They're looking for the casket of the pit. No, it's the Death Ward that starts it off, but the Aegis goes the way of the Tiny. And then they make it out for the time being. Timbersaw up on the high ground. He might have to Bloodstone deny. He's up to 17 charges. It'd be huge if he could live through this. Zaki gonna fall down in the pit. Ajit could be next. The Roar's cooling down. He's a bit low on mana. I don't think he'll be able to get it for this fight unless Io gives him some. Tims has the bottle charges though. I think they could bait them in and re-engage here, but not if Tims gets caught to start the fight. The tether slow on top. Abed losing those reactive armor charges. He might be a possible kill. Clinks thinks so. With the Deso engaged, he's forced to Bloodstone deny right as the killing blow was about to arrive. So Nana does help keep the charges in check. Ends up being 10-11, but Execration still continuing their comeback, grabbing their first lead in quite some time.
That's troubling for WG Unity, and this is again a very young, emotional team, and when you've just lost what is now 3 games in a row, and 3 games, all of which, or 2 of them, one of the Fnatic games and the previous game 1 of this series, where they must feel like they had an early game edge. If they checked the replays after the losses, they would have been able to reaffirm that, and they're a team who's really excelled in the early game and had some great moments where they've shined, but they're just not making the key movements and rotations, and just
I mean,
team fights.
they're a bit of a younger team, and I think it does go back to what you said earlier, that, you know, the way that they lost to that Fnatic in game 2, where it was just a crazy ping-pong match with both teams winning a fight, pushing down mid, mega creeps nearly secured on both sides for a decent chunk of the game, and losing those heartbreaking games where it's just 1 extra life, 1 extra round of buybacks that makes the difference could take a lot out of you emotionally, especially if you're a bit younger and less experienced.
And 1 missed Chronosphere. That's where it's like you're looking at your teammates, it's like, this guy just cost us a game because he airballed a Chronosphere. It's like, you're not going to blame him now, but it's still on your mind, where it's like you maybe lose trust in your teammates at some point. So see Chemo looking here in the mid lane for, possibly for the Clinks. Not that he knows he's there. Clinks in very deep.
Sneaking around. Will they find anybody? Just RR off in the woods. We do see Tiny now completing an Aghanim Scepter. So Execration begin to transition towards the late game here. Is there what's kind of the next timing looking forward for them? Is this a farming phase where they don't really look to initiate? Should they be pressing the issue with this Aegis, do you think?
It's a pick-off phase, more likely. A pick-off into tower kind of phase. Their lineup excels at finding pick-offs because of the raw into relocate. And then ideally, if they can find a pick-off near a tower, they get objectives. But what they will find is a Clinks at bottom. They get him with the dust.
And they now move in further with a Venge Stun to follow this up. Nana in quite a bit of trouble. Shredded by the Timbersaw and beaten down by the Tiny. The kills keep on ramping up.
Not the ideal, it's the ideal hero pick-off, but as far as the position it's in, it doesn't immediately get them a tower. But actually, as I say that, Tiny's already on they relocate back and they get a tier 2 potentially.
Do they try to fight this, though? Witch Doctor's thinking about it. Moving into position is when he has the blink, but he already used it to initiate. They don't have the relocate save. That's the big issue for Nando, and he gets stunned. There's the initiation. The follow-up comes through as they hex Tims on the way in, and they ravage to follow this one up. Tiny down, Tims 2, and now time for round number 2. Don't really see Nando. Doesn't. Oh, actually, maybe he will. Chakram. Chain not on the mark, but this will set up for an immediate transition into a push down mid.
Like
a lot of deaths for the Clinks here down the stretch, gods. He's got 3 total, not that many, I guess, for the game, but They're coming all in a very small compressed block of time.
And at a really bad phase of the game where you don't want to give up kills.
Right when the Tide Hunter gets caught out, this could be disastrous for WG Unity. They need this Tide to stay alive, to stall the push. He's out for the count. Doesn't have the Ravage cooldown anyway. Lion doing his best to halt the aggression, but Execration continue to apply pressure, pushing deeper into the Dire base, looking for their first lane of Rax. A win here. They've got a date with Fnatic and a shot at directly moving into the TI main event. A loss, and WG Unity still have to win a game 3. They're on the brink of getting 4 games in a row wiped out of the qualifier when they were so damn close to advancing at least to Seattle as a wild card, possibly directly in the main event. This one hurts, but it does feel like Execration are in complete command now.
And it's just tragic how it's the same story again and again. A good early game into a poor mid game. And
it's not like a lineup that needs to be poor in the mid game, but as we say that, Nana finds 2 free kills on the back line. I mean, still, even if they get 3 or 4, they've already lost the lane of Rax against the tiny IO Beastmaster. It's a lot to come back from.
Yeah, it's rough losing it. Lane of Rax this early on, that's a big flow of gold going the way of Execration. The Clinks gets some recovery money himself to work towards his BKB. He'll get a tier 1 mid tower on top of that, so Nana suddenly with a nice pile of cash to work with, but...
What do you think of this? Early Lotus Orb from Abed. Very unusual pickup on the Timbersaw.
I really thought he was getting this. I saw the plate mail with that ring. I'm like, is this not just a Shivers? Like, is Shivers not the better option? But can dispel off the Hex. Other than that, you're looking at a potential way of blocking a Sunder. But the thing is, there's 5 heroes to Sunder. So if you Lotus Orb a hero that you think he's about to Sunder, could just Sunder someone else. You do need armor as Timbersaw. Despite your reactive armor, you need armor for that initial burst of physical damage from a Terrorblade or Clink. So going for a Shivers,
especially against this line,
or a Lotus Orb is good. But to me, the Shivers is the better option. But we'll see what kind of plays he can make with it. That's the big thing for me, is can he make plays?
I mean, Lotus Orb does give you some, to be fair. So, Execration starting to congregate on the bottom side of the map, but Nana continues to threaten for the flank, eating a creep, working towards a BKB. And they make a smoke movement of their own. It's indeed WG Unity who get the jump. This time on Donato, starting with the Hex, following up. The nukes are there. Finger secures the kill. Blink and you'll miss it. And Io trying for the relocate save. Wasn't able to get there in time, and now Tim's may die as well. They found where he's come from. Does he bring anyone back, or do they just sacrifice the little ball as well? Oh, Ghost Scepter. Looking to retreat. Shooting through the trees, but the stun is there. Zaki tracks him down again. Another grab. It's Execration's turn to play toss. Losing, I think, 4 or 5 heroes in a row after that rack.
Tiny just caught out a bit far by himself, and now Roche will respawn very quickly. 5 seconds. Witch Doctor checks it a bit early. And I don't know if he's going to check it again, because it is a very early time for Roche to have respawned, so this may go unnoticed by WG. It's being pinged out by the Tiny, and Hawk will see that it's there and also see that WG have not found it just yet.
As you say that, almost on cue, an Illusion has a little strut towards the pit, but is he going in? It looks like he's going the other way. Looks like he ain't going anywhere, actually. Looks like we're not going anywhere.
WG.
No.
Well,
I'm sure there is Dota happening, but not here. Another hiccup.
well, we'll see if we can reconnect, but...
Who do you kind of favor in the state of the game as it is now?
Upper at lane of Rax is Execration, so that's like...
Despite like kind of hemorrhaging kills, giving up big cores.
That's fine. Relax. They've got control of the next Roche. Yeah, I think importantly, the next Roche was not taken after the big core kills, so they can look to secure that for themselves, or at least contest it. And their big play is just to try and find those pickoffs. Smokers 2 or 3 with the Beastmaster, find a Raw, relocate in, and bring in 5 heroes even for a pickoff, because you want to transition out of that pickoff into towers, objectives, and much more than that. So we'll see what the plan's going to be. But what got them that initial kill and lane of Rax was the 3-man smoke into relocate gank on their Clinks at bottom. So Nana needs to play like a really solid game and not get caught out.
All right, well, we are back into the game now, folks, so we'll hop over there. And Looks like we missed a tiny Venge going down. The trade was... someone just died on WG Unity. I think it was the Lion. Was double checking to make sure the stream was back in.
Yeah. And looking at the net worth, it's still a top net worth Terrorblade. Clink's not far behind. Tide is going to scale well into the late game too, potentially.
Oh, stun finds Nando though, and they look to chunk him down here, but the roar onto Nana, turning this one around. The Lotus Orb protecting him, and they begin to hit him with the club. Avalanche, toss, not enough. The chain through, he's got the BKB, he pops it now. Ajit on the chase. They're going from more additional kills here. Abed chaining to the north, attempting the TP out. He will retreat, successfully escaping. Still Execration on the run, being hounded by Zaki. The orbs giving them vision and letting them know that he's in the neighborhood. He wants the 2-hero stun. He's going for a bit of a greedier play. Settles for Tim's. Nana, idiot creep on the front lines. Chemo's there, has a swap, but is it really worth it? Instead, he goes for the stun on Nana from the trees. RR emerges. They will execute the Clinks. They turn back for Zaki as well. Chemo's in position, but he is getting locked down, focused, and defeated. In the end, the bench will fall.
Oh, the Lotus Sunder!
But the Lotus on the Sunder prevents it. Ajit. Oh, shit. That is not what he had in mind. And now they relocate forward. They're looking for Wen as well. Abed there. Doesn't have a way to cancel the TP. He'll make it out.
That's why you go to Lotus Orb.
You normally don't think, oh, hey, it's a Terrorblade. I should just buy a Lotus Orb, but my god, it definitely paid off there.
And what started off as a great fight for WG, the chase they get punished on, it was a great calculation from Execration. They turned it when they did on the Clink, such that the Beastmaster was hiding in the trees, was ready to back up the Venge stun, and it started off as badly as it did because they didn't have the Necrobook when they got the roar from the front lines on the Clinks, but as the fight drew out and WG chased further and further, Execration found ways back in.
So they now move on to the Roshan. Execration with both cores dropping there. Salvage the hemorrhaging that we had seen previously, and are going to look for a second lane of Rax here relatively soon, I imagine. At this age is probably, we'll see that next push.
We'll have the tools to do this. Another plate mail for Timbersaw means now he goes into that Shiver's Guard. Negating the physical damage output of heroes like Terrorblade Clinks, going to be the next name of the game. But these two heroes do have BKBs, so they can at least hold their ground against the nukes of Tiny and Timbersaw.
Execration moving forward as a squad towards the top side of the map, and they do get Abed initially. WG Unity catching him out, but Chemo's there with the save. The Ravage coming through, does connect. Timbersaw may die as well. Oh, he's got a lot of reactive armor stacks, but it's simply insufficient. The nuke damage is there. WG Unity striking right back again, finding more kills. RR wants to engage into this, but he's going to get caught by a cast. It bounces back to his boar. His creeps quickly becoming his own worst enemy. It's now the Necrobook punishes him. Finally, Tiny arrives, but it's one by one. Execration running in, feeding kill after kill. They do have an Aegis for round number 2. Io, someone in position. Tims may go for the relocate save, but Nando's heading to the north away from his Io, who barely manages to get the tether off. Brings him home. But do they come back? They've got a Bloodstone respawn, Timberspaw. They will reinitiate. Abed chaining forward. And we'll be able to clean up these illusions. Still, went from, I think it was like 17 Bloodstone charges earlier, down to 9 now.
Ooh.
So he's lost a lot. The kills are mounting on the cores, and we've yet to see them get a second lane of Rex. This game's not over yet for WG Unity.
They're not necessarily on a timer by any means for Execration, but it is concerning how these last few fights have gone for them. But with that in mind, I'm kind of looking at the BKBs being purchased now to fight with. They're going to get shorter and shorter. Clink's already down to 7 seconds. Terrorblade's still healthy on his, but Execration just need to make sure they're finding trades and not losing these fights, which it's been a bit shaky. It's a dead even game in terms of net worth, and that's where they do perhaps want to consider, yeah, we're up a lane of Brax, but we're not up in terms of economy, and we're going to just fall back, finish our next item or two. The Vlad's pick up for RR's really nice with a Tiny, but it's Tiny who will finish a BKB now and be a bit more team fight ready.
Yeah, there's the BKB that you mentioned, but so much of it is physical damage. I guess you still have the Ravage, the Lion, so it's a necessity for Nando, but it doesn't feel like a full solution.
No, the physical damage kills you if you're disabled. So if you're not getting hit by the Impales, the Ravages, you can at least get a... You're not going to die to the physical damage is kind of the mindset behind the BKB.
Here comes the smoke, the wraparound from WG Unity. They're approaching from the low ground. The southern ramp
Tim's first.
is their access point. Afu's smoke first to break. Radiant team scouts it out, blinks away. Tiny moves forward, he cracks that BKB open, and Afu will fall first to begin the fight, but Terrorblade engaging as well. Timbersaw jumping in the top to try to assassinate these supports, but it's the Hex working against Abed. The Lotus Orb a bit too late. Doesn't seem like it's going to be enough. And now the Deso shots raining in. He's trapped up on the high ground. Can they get the vision? The ward drop, but he's already chained himself out. Abed, will he make it home? The Chakram comes back. They can't find him. A beautiful retreat from the Timbersaw, and after all that, only a Witch Doctor dies. But an IO might be next.
I'm not sure how just the
Team?
one died.
Team? No team.
Not the outcome you'd expect from that kind of fight, but the BKBs coming into play there, and that's where I kind of mentioned where these carries with BKBs become a bit unkillable, but they also can't totally find kills themselves. They're very reliant on the disables for WG Unity. For Execration, they're reliant on the Timbersaw damage to finish off these kills, and the BKBs do prevent that.
So now WG Unity grouping up bottom lane. They'll begin to siege this tier 2. They still hold the Ravage, and it seems like Execration, the call is, let's split push. Let's draw them back, avoid the head-on clash. We'll see if WG Unity respect that.
Yeah, it was something mentioned in the draft a bit and earlier on in the game where split push is an option to fight into the Tide Terrorblade, and I think they haven't gone back to it enough. But with the way the last few fights have gone, it seems that they are back on the split push train.
Hunting for Chemo here, and oh my freaking god.
No. Alright.
Alright, back in. I was about to break something, but it seems I won't have to for now. There's 2 simultaneous kills. Witch Doctor assassinated on one side of the map, Chemo on the Venge on the other. So 1-for-1 supports around the map. No clear winner there.
Yeah, rough game to be a support. Poor Witch Doctor with 9 deaths.
I mean, so many just like heavy burst damage assassin type carries. The Clinks, the Tiny IO, even the TB to some extent when he BKBs.
Beastmaster, if you're a support against a Beastmaster, you're a free kill to a Necro 3 Roar. So, no fun.
Like you said, sad times. Is there a turning point this game, Gods, where you see either team clearly outclassing their opponent late game?
Ooh, for WG Unity, for both teams, but more so Unity is the refresher on Tide, having the 2 big ultimates in a fight, and they're going to have that paired up with a lot of damage output from Clinks, who's almost got a Daedalus, Terrorblade, who's looks to be working on a Skadi. For Execration, I don't feel like there's as clear a item peak in the late game. The Beastmaster with a refresher is kind of nice, but it's starting to feel like his roars are more for BKB control than actually securing kills. So you can roar the Terrorblade during his BKB to stop him doing damage, but that means you're using your roar to stop his damage output and not to stop his Sunder, so you're not actually killing him at any point.
I feel like we used to see, if a game went late enough with a Tiny IO, nothing could stop it as far as physical damage goes. But with the rise of all these minus armor strats, the heavy right-clicked ranged heroes, Tiny IO just doesn't quite seem like what it used to be as far as late game potential anyway. It's still always you have the mobility. That's something that has not been changed or taken away by the meta, but not quite the beast he was anymore. We'll see if Nando can prove us wrong, but for now, does find himself behind the TB by a decent margin.
Shadowblade pickup. So Beastmaster not going for the refresher. Once, I think recognizing that their lineup is entirely around split push and pickoffs, wants to have an item to do that with, more so than the refresher, which is the team fight oriented pickup.
It's a bold move down mid, and all the Radiant scan reveals it. Smoke is there. RR moving in courtesy of the Shadowblade. He'll break the smoke. He blinks out. He scouts that whole gank coming. So a whiff there from WG Unity. And they do still have plenty of smokes available. 2 unpurchased. I don't think there's any on the courier.
1 year of Execration, try and initiate and take a fight here. It does seem hard to execute from their side.
Tower down, and that's definitely something to highlight here, Gods, is that both teams kill structures very quickly. Yep. Beastmaster and Tiny IO with the Venge, obviously, and Terrorblade Clinks, they're known for their prowess at building demolition.
It's kind of a one and done kind of game where one really bad team fight and you've just lost the entire game. The first fight that lost Rax was early enough in the game that Execration weren't quite at that point where they had the items to end the game, but now we're approaching that point where Tiny Beastmaster and then the Terrorblade Clinks on the dire side can just win you the game.
Oh, Nando, the finger not enough. Good save there by the Swamp, but a relocate also committed. And they may end up living to regret this one as the Ravage comes through. Does lock down Abed for the time being, but RR able to blink himself away to safety. So now with the Ravage down, they look to chase a bit further. WG Unity are going to be on the back foot for this upcoming engagement. A good defensive support play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clinks is the man in first. BKB committed just in time. They're going to toss him back, try to run, but RR, Shadow Blades, makes it out. Abed now retreating. The chain is there. Teleport will be interrupted, completely controlled. They lay into him. Another chain, a very short range one at that, but they've already lost him. Now Chemo attempted the TP out. No other way to cancel it. So after all is said and done, they do lose the Timber.
Yeah.
They still lose a core.
It's been going down quite a bit in consecutive fights. 6 Bloodstone charges only now.
The Clinks pick is working out again for WG Unity.
Yeah.
Twice now that he's had a big impact, even going late.
It just seems like such a comfort pick for Nana. It's the same thing as last time where despite the hero maybe not being the best matchup in terms of the drafts, but Nana just seems so comfortable in the laning stage, his rotations in the mid game. He's always posting up big kill scores, and that's what we're seeing again here.
Timber Saw to respawn in 5 seconds as Roshan is going to beat Afu and force him out of the pit at that moment.
Tiny dropped an item to try and steal it, but
The
no one's in there.
refresher has been purchased, gods. This could catch Execration very much off guard. It's supposed to be a minute before the Ravage is ready. Do Execration get baited into a big team fight, or does this Tiny show the refresher first? Nothing scouted just yet, only an invisible Clinks. Moving forward, but RR, he gets eyes on him. The Roar's there. Instantly, Zaki ready to go, and the refresher surprise comes through with the Ravage on top. Nando deleted just like that. Chemo's next. A lot of BKBs committed, but 2 crucial kills. Execration, well, now they know, but that was costly.
You have to be very careful fighting like that, and they're just trying to get these bursts, these chain stunts onto Nana's Clink so they can burst him down, but the counter initiations from Tide have just been on point every single time, and WG who walk away with a couple key kills and a Roshan now.
So this will be the Roche. Aegis secured by the Terrorblade, and I feel more important this game than others because they don't have that Venge or Dazzle or Oracle, the strong defensive support to help ensure he survives, but now he's got a second life, so Ajit can do it on his own without requiring that teammate to assist.
Nice thing is maintaining the Metamorph when you respawn now too, so we'll see if they've got answers or ways of dealing with this Terrorblade on the Filipino side. They need more items as far as Tiny's concerned. He's looking so squishy when he has Terrorblade on him, and that's where the Assault Crest is going to go a long way, because just 10 armor only.
Against a TB who is hitting for, 300 plus
Yep.
when he's in Metamorph.
Clinks even more, and he's got Desolate for the minus armor as well as a crit.
And that's just the main hero as well.
Yeah, and that's where you're tethered and overcharged up. The sustain from the IO isn't going to keep you alive because they've got that much right-click damage.
Tim's has had some good relocate saves, to be fair, but it just doesn't feel like a game where Tim's can live in the fights. They had a gem for the Clinks, but unless they roar him, they can't stop him when he BKBs from just killing off this IO, or at the very least, forcing him to critical HP and to run away. And then the Tiny gets kited. Tough game.
And there's no real easy item for him to go into to stop that kind. The Blink Dagger is meant to be there to help fight it, but at some point he's almost going to have to sell it as well just to help his item progression going late game.
AC is complete, as you mentioned. Should be a big pickup. But Terrorblade already marching towards his next one, up to 5.6k 8 gold with Nana.
Jeez,
Up to another 2k after completing the Daedalus.
Yeah, these two players are both very, very farmed. It's hard for them to siege high ground in some sets. You've got, 2 range carries, minus armor and all that, but the low ground to high ground advantage of Timbersaw and even the Beastmaster Roar can threaten to burst down a key target that WG might not want to lose. But the Aegis on their side, this is the kind of one of the few timings where it is feasible and they do want to go for it.
Metamorph, and then straight into the Illusion Army. Ajit quickly laying into this tower. Nobody in sight to defend for the time being, and they are fighting into a double Ravage. Buybacks, we'll keep an eye on them now. Timbersaw as well as Beastmaster have it for the Radiant, but both carries have it for the Dire. This may just be a free first lane of Rax. Not sure that Execration can realistically fight into it, but at the same time, I also feel like WG Unity could just stick around. They do get the swap up to start the fight. It's on to Nana, beaten down rather quickly by the Tiny, but he manages to get off a cheese. He's back to full HP. Still, Nando brings him down. They're going to chuck that Tidehunter away. Already the Rax have been claimed. WG Unity, they'll be content with that if they get out, or if they get more kills. Oh, Timber moving in, gonna force out the BKB. Ajit sunders him though, and then the secondary Ravage on to Nando with the reflection. They get the kill there. Tim's is next. That's 3 dead. Make it 4. No buyback on the Tiny. This could very quickly become the second lane, possibly the game. Gem hitting the deck. It's an IO buyback. But as soon as they don't see this Tiny pressing that button, there's a possibility they stick around. WG Unity, I guess, just feeling like they don't want to risk it. They don't know he doesn't have it.
Yeah,
That could have been a chance for 2 lanes of Rax, though.
Yeah. Well, they even up the Rax score at least for now, but more importantly, going to maintain a heavy string of momentum here.
Yeah, 14,000 gold, 20,000 experience. A Daedalus on Terrorblade now. Woo! Not an item you see too often on this hero.
It's nice because the illusions get the crit, so...
Yeah, not the best pushing item, but
no.
it feels like they already push hard enough.
Yeah,
so
wants to be able to just burst down and melt the Tiny, even to a slight extent the Timbersaw. It's your highest, probably single target damage item to get on a Terrorblade next to Rapier or something, perhaps.
Execration are definitely under the gun. After such a good start, they took the lane of Rax. They got out pretty cleanly, but then they started to give up kills. I think it was 4 or 5 in a row. It's only accelerated since. Is there a point where they just try to rat this, Gods? And do you think they can against the WG Unity lineup successfully?
Oh, the catch is pretty... Lion and Clinks is like the scouting, let's go invis in, let's find him, let's try solo kill him, but then Lion is also the let's try catch him with Blink Ball Staff. But with that said, I think there is a lot of good reasons to go for a more kind of split push style of play moving forward. It's just often hard to adjust your playstyle on the fly. Like, you get in this groove, in this rhythm where you're fighting pretty well. Like, it's not, you're starting to lose, but at least you know how to execute your game plan. So changing it completely is difficult.
Unity, WG, they did see heroes moving through the trees, and they're hiding as well. Zaki, he'll blink back. He's going to play it safe. He'll begin to deal with some Terrorblade illusions. Tiny now moving forward. Dish straight down the bottom lane. Do we see Execration look for a second lane of Rax? Are they so bold? Tier 2 stands before them. They'll chuck a creep in. They will grab it very easily. Now the reflection's been created. And RR, he sees that, his team backing off. He too considers it. Using the Shadow Blade to sweep around towards the left, back to the middle lane. In the end, it will be a disengage. So Execration get a tier 2. No willingness from Warriors Gaming to contest unless they go high ground.
Yeah, Warriors need to have a clear approach to these fights, and
just not worth the risk. Tier 2s at this point are not going to matter all that much. You already have quite a bit of mobility and vision coming from the likes of a Clake's. Warriors Gaming moving deeper on the mid lane. Wen's here, looking for the jump. It's the Hex to start it off. It's on to Nando. The Ravage does not connect on the IO. Tether, relocate out. Ravage number 1 down. They do have a second. I think with that second being available, you just sacrifice the IO here.
Yeah. I think that's the most straightforward way to play this fight.
Abed getting swapped out, but Nana blinking forward onto the Timber, so he goes down for the count. Can they find more kills? RR's there. The secondary Ravage comes through. It's just for the Beastmaster, but he too will fall. Out for 70, lacking buyback by 950 gold. As I think the Boots of Travel was the latest purchase, so now won't be able to rejoin the fight. And Execration in danger of going to a game 3 here. Looks like they're going to be able to close out WG Unity, but they're down 3 for 40 seconds. God, that's basically Throner Megas. I think that's it. There's no wrap play from Tiny. He's going to try for an avalanche. He gets hexed. He too will fall with the reflection coming through. This time there will be no relocate save. And this time, Warriors Gaming coming through in the mid game. Tiny will buy back, and WG just laugh.
Yep, you're right. They're just going to go for the Megas and go for the Game 2 victory. WG are not done just yet. They were tested by Execration so far, but Nana's Clinks prevails once more, and
I don't even think you can look at this game and say, like, oh, they needed to ban the Clinks, but it just did work.
yeah,
2 times in the past 2 games. 15, 5, and 13 on the hero. Involved in 28 out of 40 kills.
the 2 big heroes that just didn't work to me is the IO Tiny again. There is 20 of the 40 deaths. 50% of the deaths are coming from those 2 players, and that just doesn't cut it.
And it requires a lot. You know, you have to dual lane mid. It somewhat limits your options for other cores. And it felt like the Jungle Beastmaster combined with the IO Tiny made it even tougher, where there just wasn't enough catch-up economy options for them down the stretch.
Yeah, a few of those rotations also just not working out, like Beastmaster, the first smoke getting popped and not going on the Witch Doctor, trying to go on the Clinks, and then it backfires.
I really think Raindrops has made Tiny IO a whole lot weaker.
Yeah.
It seems like the counter right now.
I haven't seen a successful IO Tiny in a long, long time, so.
Yeah, maybe you know, the likes of Crit can prove us wrong from OG on the IO. But for now, guys, that's going to wrap up game number 2 as Execration fail to close out Warriors Gaming. We go to a game 3. The winning team goes to Seattle, at least as the wild card, possibly as the direct qualified team, should they be able to take down Fnatic. I'm LD, he's God. Stick around. Game 3 coming up.